Welcome, everyone. We will begin the webinar on launch and learning more about ADAS Calibration Collision Repair. I'm Melissa Jolls with RDA. Chris Schuab, President of SL Marketing Specialties, is your presenter today. The presentation will take approximately 25 to 30 minutes. We are recording it and we'll post it on our private YouTube channel. If you do have questions during the webinar, you can type them in the chat box at the bottom right of your screen, and they will be answered during the presentation. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Schuab. I'm president of SL Marketing. We are a rep agency in the Eastern United States and have represented Launch for the past couple of years. I was asked to do the presentation because Robert Curtis, who was originally going to be doing it from Launch, had some personal issues. So I appreciate everybody coming on today and look forward to talking to you guys. I appreciate RDA for putting it on. So the agenda for today, here's a couple of the topics we're going to cover, and as we go along, if you guys want to put questions in to Melissa, and we can talk about them during the slides. I think that's probably more impactful for everybody, so that we don't miss anything at the end of the presentation. But we'll just briefly go over what is ADAS, who needs the equipment, the different types of shops and businesses that can benefit from it. The different types of ADAS calibrations, what's needed, and that could be for the shop level. That's not just the equipment, but that's also a spatial issue for the shop as well. Introduction to the throttle, which is Launch's new diagnostic tool, which supports the whole ADAS platform. And then how Launch ADAS packages are sold, the configuration of the packages, the part numbers, the pricing, and what you can do to get involved with selling the ADAS packages. Okay, so advanced driver assist systems, ADAS, really were designed to basically help the automobile drivers avoid collisions, right? Their warning detection systems, their collision avoidance, their lane changing. It encompasses all of those different features, cameras, all of those different things that all come together to a mainframe, which is the ADAS system. So the customers, right, what customers would need it, really at this point, the automobile manufacturers, the ADAS systems are in the cars now today, just within the past few years have become so sophisticated that really anybody working on an automobile at this point is going to have to get involved with ADAS, whether they do it directly or indirectly. But obviously, body shops is what we're here for, and that has been the number one area where ADAS has been getting involved in. Windshield repair, believe it or not, is a big issue because once the windshield's removed out of a vehicle, even if the camera, which is the forward-facing cameras are usually right there behind the rear-view mirror. Once those are removed from the broken windshield and replaced back onto the new windshield, that camera has to be calibrated. Alignment and suspension shops, again, because of lane departure and your side mirrors and things like that, your 360 surround, the way the car is tracking down the highway is going to affect your lane departure. If you're not completely parallel to the lanes and your car's tracking slightly, off, it could affect your lane departure and other parts of your ADAS system. Mobile techs, I'm sure everybody's got shops that are already using a mobile tech type person to potentially come in, and ADAS is one of the things that some of those mobile techs have gotten pretty involved in over the past couple of years as the platform has developed. There are some big downsides to using a mobile tech, and we'll talk about that. It's really based on the spatial and the environment of where you're doing the ADAS, but they're out there doing it definitely. General repair shops, if a body shop doesn't have the equipment, the facility, they could potentially sub this stuff out to a repair shop. Repair shops, again, could definitely be involved in the alignment of a vehicle And it could be simple things as well that a repair shop might do, just like maybe replacing a side mirror. And, you get into the more advanced ADAS systems now, and those side mirrors have either some sort of radar or camera in them, depending on how much ADAS they're equipped with. The dealerships obviously have to be able to service the vehicles. And then rental cars, fleets, large municipalities, anybody that has really any sort of large fleet of vehicles that would potentially be equipped with ADAS, that they want to be able to do this in-house, or certainly be able to maintain their vehicles. This is something that's going to have to be maintained going forward on a regular basis. So when would the ADAS system need to be recalibrated? So obviously, after a collision, the highest percentage of collisions, right, are front end and to rear end bumps. That is really the first thing that the ADAS systems were built for, was to minimize those types of collisions. Forward-facing cameras, radar, and adaptive cruise control all worked in configuration with the brake pedal. In today's 360 ADAS systems, you're really talking about a network of cameras and radar that communicate to the brake pedal, the gas pedal, the steering wheel, and all work simultaneously with each other throughout. But anywhere on the vehicle, if it's a 360 ADAS system, everywhere on the vehicle has some sort of ADAS piece of equipment on it. So, a collision, the hood or trunk replacement, that's big because, your cameras, your forward-facing camera, your rear-facing camera, and in the front hood or in the grille is usually your front radar for your adaptive cruise control as well. So once those things are touched, taken off the car, unplugged, anything like that, you're talking about having to recalibrate. Windshield replacement, like we said, there's companies out there like SafeLight that's you're seeing commercials on TV, and part of what they're promoting is not just now the replacement of the windshield and how easy it is, and for the customer to call in and get it done, but it's also about they're now talking about how they can accurately recalibrate the systems on the vehicles as well. Mirror replacement, we talked about that. Again, the onset of the 360 ADAS, you started out with blind spot assist in the mirrors, and now you've gotten to the point where you've got really wide-ranging cameras that assist in the 360 view of the vehicles. Suspension work, again, we touched on that a little bit, but how the car tracks down the road is an issue and will affect your ADAS, or it could affect it negatively. It is recommended that before ADAS calibrations are done, that a car is aligned. When you look at this, when you look at the software in a scan tool, the ADAS software, it's going to prompt you for certain things up front that should be done prior to setting up the vehicle for the calibration. And one of the things it's always going to tell you is that the car should have been aligned, because, again, you want to be working with known factors that the car is, going to track down the road perfectly straight. Curbing and bumping, again, you're talking about, sensors and cameras and things that are very sensitive. So just like a car running down the road hitting a pothole and now its alignment is out of whack, the same type of things can happen with the ADAS systems and the different components where they can be knocked around, and next thing you know, they're out of calibration. And then module or component replacement, obviously, just like flashing any sort of component on a vehicle nowadays, when you replace something, you're normally going to have to code it, which would really be like turning it on. And in this case, you're going to have to, calibrate it, which is basically just a bidirectional, which is turning that module on and off with certain parameters in place that then say, yes, I'm at the spec that the OE is requiring. So how quickly does ADAS pay off? I would actually tell you that this screen, couple of things. I mean, we've done some investigating and talked to some insurance companies, and it seems to be that the payout that we're hearing is about $250 to $300 per calibration. Myself and my people are in body shops all the time working with people, and I would tell you that most of the dealerships are probably charging more like $450. So I think there's some play in that $250 to $300 number, but that just gives you a basis, at least a low point, and I would say that the high end range is probably about $450. The key, obviously, cycle time in any body shop, right, is a big issue. Keeping that car in your location. Any car that's got to go, down the road to a dealership, you're talking about not just one, but two people from your shop leaving, one to drive the vehicle that's got to get repaired, one to drive behind them and pick them up. They got to come back to the shop. They've got to go back later. You're at the dealership's mercy as far as when that job will get done. So the cycle time obviously is a big issue for every body shop, and it's certainly a good point to talk about with return on investment when you're talking to the body shop owners. Insurance companies looking for, this ADAS is probably not going to be for everybody. It may not be for every one of your shops. Certainly the higher end shops that are concerned about cycle time and have maybe technicians that maybe are a little bit more advanced with diagnostics are targets. Shops that obviously have the space requirements needed are going to be another issue, because space issues will knock out some of your customers unless they're willing to do something. And we have seen that there are body shops out there that have added onto their buildings, purchased or leased new buildings, whether next door or down the road, just to do this type of work. Okay. Again, the common repairs. So any sort of bumper scuffs, any sort of little taps and hits in a parking lot that may cause issues with a bumper, that's all going to affect the ADAS system, and they should be recalibrated at that point if there's been any sort of bump and if the repair has been done. And then obviously you can, with what we said before, that there's going to be plenty of shops out there that probably are not targets for this. That allows the individuals that get involved with it to really get out there and get after some additional work if they want it, by sharing their ADAS system with potential other shops out there, and really saying, hey, look, bring your cars to me, and I'll do it for $300. The dealership down the road's charging you $450. So there's opportunities to make money in that way with the systems as well. Okay, so what are the needs for ADAS? And we touched on this a little bit, but obviously a complete diagnostic tool. And by that, what we really mean is it's got to be one of the higher end tools. And obviously it's got to have it's got to have ADAS software in it. ADAS software would not be part of a normal diagnostic software package. It's going to be an additional software package in that scan tool. So, I would tell you that shops need to make sure that one, they're looking at a quality tool, but two, that tool supports ADAS and that manufacturer supports ADAS. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the targeting, the targets, the calibration targets. So, you've got different targets based on the OE, based on the potential, camera manufacturers. So our systems range anywhere from just the base model stand all the way up to, I think it's 19 or 20 different targets. So there's numerous different targets out there, but obviously you need the target and the fixture to put the target on to be able to perform the calibrations. The information source for the procedures, again, that's like I was saying, ADAS is a separate software package within your scan tool. So you need to make sure, again, that the scan tool can support it and that the manufacturer obviously has that. And then the adequate workspace, and we'll go over the dimensions of that later. But just for reference point, there are spatial needs. There are lighting requirements. And there's also other things like a level floor. And the level floor comes into play for, obviously, you want all four tires to be as level as possible while the car's sitting there. But you're also talking about the target boards and the rack they're on have to be able to freely move back and forth so that you can align that vehicle completely perpendicular to that target board to perform an adequate ADAS recalibration. And then things like ambient light. If there's too much light coming into that bay where the ADAS calibration is being performed, it could affect the calibration itself, whether it be the radar or the cameras. And again, so you just have to make sure that the space requirement meets all the customer's needs and the needs of the ADAS unit itself. I will tell you that one of the things that we do, and I know the other agencies do that support launch, is that we have the ability to come out and talk to the shop owners first, explain the system to them, go over the features and benefits. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to want to do a walk through the shop. We're going to want to make sure that the space that they think they can do it at is going to be sufficient and will work for proper calibrations. Okay, so the different types, there's really two different types of calibrations, static and dynamic, and you see them both there on the page. In a very simple term, static meaning it's still, right, which is really what we talk about when we're talking about the targeting system. The car's stationary, the targets are stationary, and really what you're doing is that you're using the tool as a bidirectional scan tool to communicate to the vehicle, to those components that you want to activate into calibration mode. And that's what the static means, just the car stationary in a bay. Dynamic is different. There are manufacturers out there that require dynamic. Some require it after the static calibration is done. And what dynamic is it's really, it should be two people in the vehicle, the driver and then the other individual with the scan tool, and you're going into the ADAS mode. And what you're doing is, again, you're activating the cameras, you're activating the radar and the LiDAR, and the car is looking, basically it's mapping the street. It's looking for things that are going to affect that system. The white lines down the right side of the road, say a double yellow line on the left side of the road, a stop sign, whatever those cameras and radar systems are set to track, that's what it's looking for, and it's mapping that, and it's basically just making sure that, and it's doing it based around some parameters that OE has. It could have to be done for a certain distance. It could have to be done at a certain speed. It certainly has to be done in decent weather. It shouldn't be performed on a rainy day, things like that. But again, you talk to different people, and guys can make anything work if they have to. But that's the difference between the two different types of calibration, and the launch tool supports both. All right. So features with our equipment, right? The ability to rapidly switch the targets. You can see there in the top left-hand corner. the gentleman putting one of the targets on, and the way our board works, and the targets are all different sizes as well, so they can go anywhere. That one looks like it's probably about 2 feet wide, and they can go all the way up to probably 5 feet wide, which is the size of that whole panel in the back there. But they easily clip on and off. There's just 2 hooks up top that all the targets clip to, so very easy to mount these things. Easy to store. On the top right side, you'll see the ADAS modular structure, and that thing is on casters and rolls around pretty easily. Can be put back to the side and out of the way, but most people are going to probably dedicate a bay to this, so this thing's not really ever going to move all that far. All right. The calibration with accuracy. And really, if you look there, you see that top-down view, and then right below it, you see the wheel clamp. And the systems come on the targeting board up top. If you look off to the bottom, that boom along the bottom, you see it kind of goes from silver to red, and those are basically measuring boards in millimeters. And those square boxes up top, those are lasers. And then down below, when you look at the wheel clamp also has a laser on it. So if you look at the top-down picture of that black vehicle, you see that the wheel clamps are on the back of the car, and notice that there's lasers going from the wheel clamp to the front board, and from the lasers from the board coming back to the wheel clamp. And what that is doing is that's allowing you to very, very precisely square that car and make sure that car is completely perpendicular. And again, that's extremely important when it comes to the forward-facing camera and the lane change, because any sort of change in degrees, and you're now tracking down the road incorrectly. So the last thing there is easy operation. The ADAS software in the tool itself is very simple, and it's very user friendly. It really walks you step by step through the whole process, so that you don't get ahead of it. And because each OE has very specific requirements to the car itself, to the setup of the car, and then to the activation of the ADAS. And then comprehensive function, we do support, like I said, both types of static and dynamic, and then all the entire range of the ADAS components that could potentially be on a car, and a wide range of the OEs as well. So here we're just getting into the couple of packages. We have 4 different packages to offer somebody, and really it's really 2 packages, but if you need a scan tool, we have kind of doubled up, and you'll see what I mean. So the first package here is the standard package, and the first thing you see there on the top left, it'll tell you you can use either the pad 2 or the throttle. And I would tell you, if any of your shops come back to you and ask you about, there's a third tool of ours called the torque. We are opening the torque this month to have ADAS software in it as well. But this package is really what you're looking at is you're getting the boom, right? The big front panel. You're getting 2 wheel clamps, right? And you're getting the radar reflector. So a very basic package. This is what the windshield companies are basically using, because all they're doing is calibrating the camera and potentially the front radar, which would be for the collision avoidance and also the adaptive cruise control. But that's all this is. It's just those couple of pieces. All right. So we go next to the deluxe package, and so now what you're looking at is you kind of see the car and how potentially the car could be set up for 360 ADAS. So you've got the large panel up front, you've got targets running down the side of the car, and then you've got a target in the rear of the car. So you're talking front forward camera, your collision avoidance, your adaptive cruise control, your lane departure, your backup camera. It's all, it's completely covered. You notice that we show the throttle there and we tell you it's included. So this package is your entry package to targets, which you see there, the front calibration targets down below, right? That's what you're getting with this package. The throttle, the forward-facing targets, the wheel clamps, right? And then the big reflector board and the stand. So that's kind of our entry-level package for this, okay? Now you get into the premium package, and here the tool is there. They're showing you the pad too, but if you notice down on the bottom right-hand corner, the tool's not included in this package. What this package does is it steps up the targets. So you're getting the large board, you're getting the wheel clamps, you're getting all those forward-facing targets, and now you're getting the rear and side sets as well. So that second package there, that only had the forward targets. Now you've stepped up to cover all of the targets that you potentially could need, okay? But no tool. So this would be a great option for somebody who, say, currently has a launch tool, but wants to be involved in the ability to do complete 360 calibrating, okay? And then our final package is the Premium Plus package. Now this one, similar to the last package, has all your forward facing, all your rear. You've got the wheel clamps, you've got the board and the board, and then if you look off to the right, this one has a throttle. So this is one that's going to be guy's going to get a brand new tool, and then we also have there just a picture, and it's not really a great description, but that's about a 4-foot high cabinet, and it's probably about 36 inches wide, on casters, very easy to move around. That is for storage. If you remember, I told you, I mean, look there, there's 15 forward-facing targets alone right there in that picture. And every one of those targets, the forward and the rear targets, all will fit within that cabinet. And then you can put the wheel clamps up top. It's meant for storage purposes, because to have those targets just laying around the shop, they will take up a lot of room. They'll get scratched up. A lot of things could potentially happen to them that could cause, irregular or faulty calibrations when it comes down to it. So it really is a great option. And when we went out and kind of, tested the waters, most people have told us that if they're going to invest the money, they're going to invest the money in, they want everything, including a new scan tool. The shop may already have a launch scan tool, but the fact of the matter is they could be using that somewhere else for pre and post scans or clearing codes. They want a dedicated tool for this operation. So this package we really feel is the, it is the package that most people are going to sell. So here we're just looking at the four different packages. You see their part numbers. You see the pricing listed there. You can see that it jumps up quite a bit from the standard to the deluxe. Those targets are not cheap, and that's really, you get that big jump there, and then from there a lesser jump for the cost of the scan tool and/or the scan tool and the cabinet. All right. So the site requirements, we talked about this a little bit. The site requirements are different based on the origin of the vehicle. So the U.S. has certain requirements, the Asian vehicles have requirements, and the Europeans have requirements. The requirements are based on everybody, all the different OEs in the tool. So this is just a one size fits all. You have to have this much room to make sure you can cover all the OEs that we cover. Okay, so you notice there that for the domestic, you're talking about a space that's 39 feet long and 24 feet wide. You notice that there's a little extra space up and down the sides of the car and in front and behind the car. The front's always going to be set up to a very specific distance to the board based on the OE. And the back, obviously, the target will have to be a certain distance from the camera as well. the reason you're looking at additional space width-wise is because the targets down the side are vinyl mats. They're on the ground. So again, you're mimicking the road surface, right? And those, you got to have room to be able to get around because you're talking about black and white vinyl stuff. I mean, I can tell you, I've seen guys, when I've done demos, walk right across them, and next thing you know, you got a big black footprint right in the middle of your target. So you want ample room in that bay where you're doing this. Importantly, too, that I would tell you when it comes to the space, what is behind the front target? I've seen toolboxes throw the calibrations off. I've seen other types of equipment that's out in front there throw it off. You really want the targeting board to be in front of a fairly clean wall. You know, doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, not when I say clean, nothing obstructing it, nothing sitting on the wall equipment-wise. And then obviously, like I said earlier, the light coming into that bay is going to be an issue as well. So you go to the Asian, and you see that it gets a little bit smaller, a little over 32 feet, and then 20 feet wide. And then the European, you're talking 22 feet and 14.9. Really, the only thing you need to remember is if the shop can handle the domestic, then they're good for the others. That is the big one, and that's the one that will require the most room. So this is just a picture we threw in. That's the throttle. It's relatively new. It's only been out. It came out mid last year. I would tell you that you can see that it's fairly simple looking tool to use, right? Big push button screen. It is an Android tool, so it's very similar to what a cell phone and you know, things that people are using nowadays. So it can have, you know, you can download apps onto it. ADAS, this is the main screen, and if you slid this screen to the left, ADAS would be the next button up. So it's when you're doing ADAS calibrations, it's as simple as turning the tool on and then hitting the ADAS button, and then the tool itself is going to VIN read the vehicle and go into that specific vehicle and OE's calibration requirements, and then walk you through step by step. All right. This is just kind of go over if people, and they will ask, but how do you activate? It's pretty simple. So if you're right, you select the ADAS icon like I just said. When you select it, you're going to see a little button there that says activate, and it'll come to this. And all you're doing is when they purchase the full ADAS system, or if they already have a tool and they have to install the ADAS into an existing scan tool, they're going to come to this screen. They're going to get a little card that's going to have an activation code. They're going to have to put it in here. That's what's going to open the software for the ADAS. All the launch tools, the ADAS button is there on the tool. It will not open unless you've activated it with this process, all right? And that's just telling you to scratch it off and you put the digit code in right there. So we talked briefly. So launch pairs up with rep agencies across the country. So these are the four, and I believe there's a fifth that I believe now came on down in the Texas market as well. So all of us are available to do field work, to do shop calls with you, and you know, help sell that tool. We also go back when the tool shipped in, and we set it up, and we just make sure it's set up properly and that the shop is comfortable using it. So what do you need to do? Just you know, set up training for your staff. So that would be, again, that would be through us, the rep agencies. We'd be happy to come out, do, you know, whatever, a morning meeting, a nighttime meeting with your staff, kind of go over the features and benefits and just the points that they should go in. And all we're really looking for them to do is pre-qualify the shops. We'll go in then later with you, and like I said, we'll get technical with the shop on on the features and benefits, and then also on the space requirements. So the next thing really is, we're looking for people to host launch clinics, and we've got an attachment after this, but we're looking for you guys to do the initial and just see who's interested. Talk to your shops that potentially are interested, and if you get the clinics set up, usually they're a nighttime thing, and if it's something that's going to be, say, at your store, your location, we could do it as a PowerPoint. If we do have a couple of, I'll call them beta shops around the country that have ADAS units that will allow us to come in and do actual calibrations and do the clinics like that. So we have that opportunity in certain locations as well. But really, we're just looking for people. It's a big ticket item, so just going in and talking to people about it. We feel like the clinic and the knowledge is really what's going to help sell this thing. So, and then just so you know, Launch right now does have some exclusives on their ADAS system, and that's through Medco. And the only people that Medco will sell the units to are going to be people that are approved, and those people have to have gone through some sort of webinar like this to be approved by Medco. So you are all obviously now approved to be able to go out and pitch the system and purchase it through Medco. All right. So this is just showing you a form. If you choose to use it, it's there for you. But this is a form for you to be able to, or your salespeople, while they're out in the shops, talk to the owner quickly. Reference that you're putting on a clinic and see if you can get people signed up so that you can have a good head count of who's coming. I would tell you too that because it's not here, but there is also, if you're putting on a clinic and you're talking to your either us, the agencies, or your Medco people, also puts money in as well. So you can, I think it's $150 or $200 that Medco puts in. So again, to have pizza and some sodas and things like that for while we're putting on presentations. So here, just a list. You have a list. If everyone's going to get a copy of this, you do have a list of each of the agency's salespeople and the locations they're in. So total sales out on the West Coast. That's SL Marketing here on the East Coast. You've got McCourt Marketing Group out in the Ohio, Indiana, Michigan area. And you've got DNR Sales, and they're up in the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Minnesota, in those areas. And like I said, I know if the contract hasn't been signed yet, there is a fifth agency that handles down that whole Texas and South Central area of the United States. All right. So here you're just looking at basically a reference between us and one of the big competitors and the different packages. The thing to really look at here is if you stay over towards the right, the premium and the advanced packages, we actually have packages set up where you can buy all the targets in one shot. And the other guy sells it more, a la carte's not the right word, but you buy the standard packages and then you add on to those packages down the road. So there's a difference to just the way the two of us present the packages, okay? And then if you have any more questions after this, obviously our site, Launch Tech USA, has all our information on our ADAS units. It does have a video on there as well to kind of briefly explain. Probably the video, might be something where if your sales guys can download stuff onto, say, an iPad or something like that. Not a bad thing to bring in when you're talking to the shop owners, just trying to engage people and see if there's an interest level. It's a 2-3 minute video. It's a 30,000 foot kind of view, but it'll get the point across and see if you got some real interest or not from the shop owner. All right. So with that, that is the presentation. And if anybody's got any questions, love to answer them.
I don't see any yet, Chris, but I will follow up with everyone on the call, and I will send the presentation, and it does have all the contact information for the reps in your area. So that'll be attached with it. And you can also follow up and ask questions with your rep or go to the website. So I don't see anybody asking anything. So we're going to conclude the webinar. We appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy days, and we'll be in touch with upcoming training opportunities. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate your time, and thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.